Hi guys, today we're in the beautiful, unique space located in downtown LA interviewing my dear friend Renee.
Hi.
Hi Renee, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Excellent. I am so happy that you're here today. And doing this series of interviews has been a lot of fun and it's been giving me a lot of joy.
That's great.
So
I'm happy to be here.
I know. You know that we love you.
Oh, I love you too, thank you.
And one of the aspects of your business that I truly admired is the dedication that you have.
Thank you.
And I have my eye in a few people, and you were one of them. And there's something about you that exudes a lot of confidence, and I really, really, really love your work.
Thank you.
And I want to tell everybody about you.
Oh, well, thanks.
So tell me, how did you start in the wedding industry?
Oh, the short version. Okay. I was always the person that hosted the parties, you know? Like, I'm that friend, and I've always been, even since like high school. But I spent a large part of my 20s as an actor. And when you're an actor, you tend to have a side job in like hospitality. So in New York and then in LA, I worked at so many restaurants, I can't even really count them anymore. But when I moved to Los Angeles, I started working at one particular restaurant that also had banquet spaces.
Oh.
And really shortly from the time that I started there until the time that I left, I literally had done like almost every job in that place, including banquet sales, banquet serving, all these things. And what I realized is that I really loved that work, but I didn't like being in the same place all the time.
Wow.
So the natural progression would be then to work other places. And I thought, well, how can I make that happen? And then wedding planning.
And that's how you started?
That's kind of how I started, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I started doing weddings for friends, as you do, like 11 years ago or 12 years ago now. I think I did my first wedding for a friend. We had like no money, DIY everything. And she was like, you're good at this, you do parties, you could do this. And I was like, yeah, I probably could figure this out. And then that was 12 years ago. And now I have my own business and I help many, many people.
Wow, that's incredible. I really love something that you did. It was on a stylized shoot that you did about Mexico City.
Oh, yeah.
I have never ever seen such a beautiful work.
Oh, thank you so much.
It was gorgeous.
That was one of my favorite shoots ever. I'm kind of a researcher. Like I'm not like a fly by the seat of your pants kind of designer. Like I dig in. So when we came up with the concept of like, it was Palm Springs meets like Mexico City, I literally did like all this research on the architecture of those two places and like what they're known for and like how we can mix it. Cause I just want to be authentic as we possibly can be. And
you got it.
Oh, thank you. And so yeah, I really love that one because I felt like I learned so much about both places and learned a lot about myself as a designer. And then I worked with so many other awesome people on that shoot that it was just like the whole day was just so lovely, and I'm so happy how everything came out. That's the City Libre shoot. So that's a venue that's actually downtown. But the first time I walked into City Libre, I said, this looks like Mexico City in a way. And the owner was like, yes, and also Palm Springs. And I was like, oh, right. So we kind of designed that style shoot for the venue specifically.
So tell me, I know that you do weddings at the desert and Joshua Tree.
Yes.
So why?
That's an excellent question. Also because I'm from New York City, so why in the world would I go to the desert? A few years ago, I got an inquiry from a lovely couple who said, we're trying to get married in Joshua Tree. We've contacted a bunch of wedding planners. No one will help us.
Wow.
And this was maybe 5 years ago. And I said, well, let's have a phone call. Like, why won't they help you? And of course, because it's just my personality, be like, I'll do it. Sure, let's do it. I did my first wedding out there, and I will say that it is tricky, and I don't necessarily understand why people would say no to it, but I understand why if you haven't done it before, you'd be really nervous about it. You're kind of, in a way, in the middle of nowhere. I mean, There's a main street in Joshua Tree called 29 Palms Highway, and you do have like a Walmart and a Panda Express and like all the things, right? But when you're at the venues that are way up in the canyon roads, it can take you like an hour if you needed to run an errand. So like if you were at a wedding venue and say you ran out of napkins, paper napkins, it's an hour to get the napkins. So you really have to consider like, do you have everything you need with you at all times in the desert? Because there isn't a lot of flexibility and there isn't a lot of leeway for like mistakes.
Got it.
You really have to be like on top of every little thing. And honestly, when I do a desert wedding, my car is just like packed to the brim with like just in case items.
Things that you might not even need.
I mean, silly things like extra trash bags and like things that you're like, why do I have this? But then if you don't have it, those are the things that you're definitely gonna need, and you don't wanna send your assistant away for an hour plus just to get something that you should have in your car. So I learned the hard way though.
So what's the difference between Joshua Tree and the desert weddings?
Well, Joshua Tree, first of all, the actual like Joshua Tree National Park, it's really difficult to actually have an event there. You have to get certain permits and filming permits. There's a lot of different permits you have to get if you want to be in the national park. But Joshua Tree is also the area surrounding the park. So there are a few wedding venues that are right there. One of my favorites is Sacred Sands. It used to be a bed and breakfast, now it's a venue. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. It is about 5 minutes outside the gate of the park. You're getting all the natural beauty without having to go through the rigmarole of getting all the permits at the park. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, the desert in itself, like the 29 Palms area, there's Pioneer Town, there's Rimrock Ranch, there's a bunch of other little areas and many venues now over the years. In the last 5 years, they've really popped up.
Okay.
And many places to get married.
Okay.
You really have to like that sort of desert natural landscape. You know, I had an inquiry with a client once who said, well, we really don't know where we want to get married. We love bold, bright colors. We're thinking about Joshua Tree. And I thought, well, Joshua Tree is kind of brown and green. So I don't know about putting like neon colors. I mean, maybe that would work.
Maybe
that would probably work too. But
right?
yes, Palm Springs is more like vibrant, colorful.
Yeah.
Joshua Tree is more like nature. You have to kind of love that vista. And it's beautiful. And if you had told me 10 years ago that a New York City girl would be obsessed with Joshua Tree, you'd be like, that's crazy.
Wow, that's incredible. So what are the difference between doing a wedding in Joshua Tree at the high desert or doing them in LA?
Well, there's a lot of differences. The weather is a huge factor. So Joshua Tree, their wedding season or the times of year where it's best to get married is like, there's a brief period in like April and then like late September through November. But into November, it's also getting too cold. So it's a much smaller season of available like beautiful weather.
Got
you know,
it.
It's always windy.
Okay.
It's always windy. So don't put big centerpieces anywhere. Yeah, in fact, the wind is a big consideration there because the local ordinances will tell you how windy it is and what you can do as far as like candles and fire pits and bonfires and things.
Are you allowed to have like candles?
I mean, almost never. I've almost never actually been successful.
Okay.
And I mean, we always try to do it if we can, but then I always have a plan B of LED candles because it's sometimes even if ordinances say it's not that windy, you can't keep anything lit.
Correct.
And like one of my clients one time wanted like a bonfire with s'mores and I was like, we probably won't be able to do it because if it's too windy.
Can you grill it?
I think if it's under a grate, we can do it. It's tricky. It's tricky with the wind because if one little ember shoots over, I mean, it could burn down the whole national park. And so everyone in the area, all the locals are very, very, very concerned with the natural landscape. And as a vendor coming in from the outside, it's my job to be as concerned as well. So yeah, you have to be real careful.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me, why would you do a wedding at the high desert and why would you not do a wedding at the high desert?
I would say a high desert wedding is beautiful for a couple who really likes the outdoors, who maybe hike together or have taken, or more adventurous, a lot more chill. Like you gotta be chill to get married in the desert because you just don't know. You know,
the elements.
Yeah, the elements. I mean, it hardly ever rains, knock on wood, but it will snow in the summer. I mean, snow in the summer. It'll snow in the winter.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, why not? Global warming. But yeah, I mean, you just don't know. You just have to be kind of open for anything in the desert and just know that the beauty that you're bringing is all around you. It's not necessarily the things you're putting on the table or the flowers you're bringing in. It kind of, everything sort of has to go with the surroundings, you know?
Wow. So what's the kind of client that loves that kind of wedding?
Most of my clients who've been married in the desert are hikers, they're adventurers, they're travelers. They're not always from LA. They're sometimes they're people who live other places in the country who think like, we want a destination wedding, but we don't want to, go crazy. And Palm Springs is only an hour away, so the airport's only an hour away, so people can fly into Palm Springs and just drive into the desert.
That's a good idea.
And the desert's really magical. And if you've never been to Joshua Tree, it's hard to describe just how special it is until you're there. And I think so many people who go to Joshua Tree and fall in love with it want to share that with their family and their loved ones. And so that's why we end up in the desert, which is great.
Wow. So Renee, what's your type of client?
Oh, my clients are awesome. My clients are really creative. My clients generally have dogs that they treat like children.
I know. I could be your client.
Which is my thing too. My clients are just kind of up for anything, and I love that about my clients. They're really they're just creative and good-hearted people, and they want to be really good hosts to their guests, which is so important to me as well. Since my background is pretty much equally hospitality and professional theater. So although I love to create the atmosphere that is like a wow factor, I really want people to feel comfortable and to feel really welcome when they're a guest at one of my clients' weddings.
Wow.
And so a lot of that is kind of built into the desert too, because the desert community, the locals there, they're amazing people, and they really want everyone to feel at home in their community as well.
Wow.
So it's kind of like hospitality for everyone.
So what tips do you have to couples who perhaps are watching this interview and they're considering doing a wedding in Joshua Tree or Palm Springs? What are the differences in each?
Well, I would say Palm Springs is a lot more cosmopolitan. There's a lot more options and a lot more resorts and places that sort of have, they make it a little bit simpler for you in Palm Springs, right? You go to the Parker, they have their menus, they have their venues. I love the Parker.
Yeah.
And so what it is, what you see is what you get, and it's beautiful. And then in the desert, you're kind of piecing it together on your own a little.
Oh, okay.
So you're getting the venue, then you're hiring a caterer. Everything is kind of coming together bit by bit, which is why so many of my, or some people I know that get married in the desert hire a planner straight away, because I know the people, and it's really hard to find the vendors in Joshua Tree, more or less, because they're not necessarily on social media. They're just not, that isn't the lifestyle there.
No.
One of my favorite vendors in Joshua Tree checks her email once a week.
What?
Once a week.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I can't.
I know, I check my email like once a minute.
I know.
But that's their workflow, because they've moved to the desert to have a different lifestyle, right? And so you have to honor that in a way and say, like, I tell my clients, I'm like, she's amazing. She's gonna get back to you on Tuesdays.
Okay.
Like
as long as you know.
But I think without a planner, you would just be so frustrated and be like, why isn't anyone getting back to me? It's like, because they're living their lives. They're hiking, they're living.
So I know as a planner, perhaps you have this amazing couple who want to get married in Joshua Tree, but they have these crazy ideas. How do you ground these people and make sure you let them know, hey, it's not gonna work? How do you do it?
Well, I love crazy ideas. So that's day number one. If you have a crazy idea, come find me. I don't know. I don't know that I don't know that I ever say like it can't be done. I generally say like, tell me all your ideas, and then I try to find a way to make it work for everyone. I always tell my clients, like, you can basically do whatever you want for your wedding. You just have to communicate it properly.
Got it.
So like, for instance, I mean, this is a weird for instance, but say you didn't want to serve dinner. Well, then don't have your wedding at a time that people would expect dinner.
Makes sense.
Right? So it's like there's a way to get what you want as long as you're setting up the expectations properly.
Okay.
I had goats at a wedding at Joshua Tree.
Oh, I love
We had baby goats at cocktail hour. It was amazing. People freaked out.
Really?
But when my client said, I kind of want to get baby goats for the cocktail hour, I was like, let's talk about that. No, it was a yes, but like, how do we do it? And there's a goat vendor in Pioneer Town that my bride found, to be fair. And then I was like, all right, well, let's see what they how, and it was beautiful. They put up this like little baby pen and everyone was holding the goats, and I got to hold a goat. It was the best day. So like, it was great.
So that won't work for somebody who wants a ballroom type of wedding, who likes all glamour and no, right?
No glamour. It also won't work for parents who are expecting that.
Okay. So you have to be very specific then. Of the client, the couple has to be very specific.
I think so. I also think too, it's about like it's about expectations on that level too, because like I did a wedding there last year where it was a half Indian wedding and a half Western wedding, and everyone's parents were so lovely, but I could tell when we all got to the venue that they were like, oh, this is rustic. And it's like, well, we're in the desert, so yeah, I mean, we're not going to be, it's not going to be, sometimes there are no inside structures at some of these venues.
It's just open?
Yeah, there's a venue called The Ruins, which has no walls.
Like, but it has a roof?
No roof. Well, there's like half walls. Anyway, there's no inside structure. You're just out in the desert.
Wow.
Which is another thing you have to be careful about, depending on the weather, the comfort of your guests being outdoors for 6 hours at a time.
Have you ever encountered coyotes or snakes?
I haven't. No coyotes. I have seen a rattlesnake, a few. Bunnies, tons of bunnies in the desert. Okay. So sweet. A lot of dogs that like are neighborhood dogs that just like everyone chills out with, which is my thing. So I'm into it. But no, I haven't seen coyotes.
Okay.
That would kind of freak me out, I think. I am from New York City, so let's just be clear.
Yeah.
I'm not down with all the wildlife.
So tell me, Renee, let's say you have this amazing client who wants a ballroom wedding.
Yeah.
Would you be able to do it?
Oh, I love ballroom weddings.
Okay.
I mean, it's so funny that I'm known as like a Joshua Tree wedding planner, which I adore, but I also do like a ton of weddings downtown. I've worked here a million times. I'm kind of up for anything. To be truthful, I had a ballroom wedding.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. My wedding was like super traditional black tie ballroom in Philadelphia. I wore a giant ball gown. My husband was in a white tux. Like we went old school traditional.
Okay.
But you know,
there's nothing wrong with
that.
No,
it's if done right, it's amazing. It was so fun.
Yes.
But no, I'm up for anything. I really want my clients' weddings to reflect them. And so if they're ballroom, then let's do it in a ballroom, right? If they're desert people, let's go to the desert. Like I'm up for anything.
So how do you see Moxie Bright Events in the future?
I really would like Moxie Bright to become more of a destination wedding planning company. Like I love travel. Like travel's I have such wanderlust, and so I always joke that like my passport's ready to go whenever. I've planned weddings, in North Carolina. I've planned weddings in New York. I've planned weddings like domestically, but like I want to go to Italy. I want to go to Mexico, even though I don't speak Spanish. I'll bring you.
I'll go with you.
I'll bring you. So yeah, I want to travel and I want to help people get married wherever they want, like Greece, and just send me anywhere. I'm in.
So we have this amazing client they want to hire you. So what information do they need to know before they have a meeting with you? Because I know that there's a lot of brides who send like inquiries.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. And I personally feel that sending like 20, 30 inquiries is way too much.
Yeah.
Because you get really confused.
It's overwhelming.
Who you send the inquiry to. So what tip would you give them?
I think the period right after you get engaged is perfect for two things. I think you have to really enjoy the idea of being engaged.
Absolutely.
And like sit with that for a while. I think too many girls just go, I'm engaged, let's start sending emails to people. And that's where I think you get the 30 inquiries and then they've forgotten who they've written to. I think a little bit of just research, like there's so much about all of us, every wedding vendor that's working a lot, there's so much about us online. True. Like there's videos and Instagram stories and my Instagram and my website and blog posts I've written. And like, if you really want to get to know me before even contacting me, like it's out there, you can do it. And I'd rather have someone reach out to me who actually like gets me and thinks like, oh, we would be friends, or like this girl seems like she could really help me. I think people know that they need help, especially in the realm of wedding planning, but they might not know what kind of help they need. Okay. And I think I see two things happen. I see people reaching out way before they have any structure, like they don't have an idea of how many guests or even a season that they want to get married, or maybe even a place. They just go, I'm engaged, and I'm like, great,
congratulations.
Yes, but I don't know how to help you. Or they reach out way late, where they've done almost everything, and then like I'm overwhelmed, and it's like, okay, there's a sweet spot right in the middle there where I really could be helpful for you.
So then, would you say like take your time after you get engaged?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Like, but then when do they need to start really getting?
I mean, it depends on how long they want to be engaged, and how. I say a year is sort of minimum if you want of full planning, like with help from a wedding planner. So soup to nuts. If you want to get married in October, a year and a half. October is the busiest month in California. I don't care what anyone says. October, November. That's the new June as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what you see.
I see it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
June. I think what's happening is that June, July, and August are just becoming too hot. And so even though we have perfect weather here, there is a preference, and I think the preference is fall. And so I'd say in your own head, do your own timeline, you know?
Okay.
I was engaged for 18 months, y'all, because I was getting married in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And I was like, we were here, but our entire family is East Coast. And I looked at the calendar and I thought, can I get this done in a year? Probably not. I wanted to get married in October. So I was like, well, it can't be this October because that's 6 months away.
Correct.
It's got to be next October. And that's how we ended up with it. So I would say, you know, I think people are constantly surprised at how early wedding vendors book.
True.
And I think that that's not changing. It's not changing at all in the years I've been in business. It's like I'm still booked out. I'm booked. I have 2019 dates already booked. You know,
Got it.
and I know it's the same. I know it's the same for photographers because there's.
It's the second thing they hire.
Yeah.
After they hire the planner.
And it should be.
Yeah.
It should be. I always say this. I say to my clients. I say you should like me, and you should really like your photographer. Because your photographer is going to be with you the entire day, even sometimes following you to the restroom. And so, and me too. And so if you don't like us, if you're like, we're not someone you could like get a cocktail with, then we're not someone you should hire.
Correct.
You should like our work, but you should also like us as humans because we're humans and we want to be helpful to you, but we also want to have a nice relationship. You know, we want to, I like to be friends with everyone, but that's just me.
Well, you're very friendly.
Oh, thanks.
So, what does your company offer in terms of planning services?
So we only offer like 2 services. I'm not a huge fan of like the cutesy names and the parsing of the services down to like how many hours. Like that's confusing. And when I was a bride, I was like, just tell me what you're gonna do. Like I don't want this very confusing graph of like, this one's called with this ring and this one's called to have and to hold. Like, no. We offer wedding management. I know, I'm New York, right? So we do 2 things. We do full service wedding planning, which is soup to nuts, and that is, everything is custom with us. So when you come to us, it's very much like we meet you where you are. If you don't have a wedding date and you don't know when you want to get married and you don't have a venue, great. If you have a date and a venue and a photographer, great. We meet you there. And that's where we're in it with you. We're going to the meetings and we're doing personal recommendations for vendors and we're doing full design. And I mean, I do everything. I love the minutia of all this. Like I love doing the RSVPs. I love welcome bags. Like I'm in. I love it. And then the other service we offer is called wedding management. Some planners call this day of coordination. Day of coordination is not a real thing.
Okay.
It's like my career soapbox. I'm actually speaking at Wedding MBA about this topic specifically. How there is no way any human being in the world can walk into someone's wedding day with like a thing of papers and be like, great, I'm here. Let me be in charge of your wedding. Like it's not possible. The terminology, day of coordination, is very damaging, I think, to our clients because then they think like, well, I'm only paying you for a day. That's not how it works. It's never true. So what I'm hoping, I've been talking about it for about 2 years, but I'm hoping now with this Wedding MBA, because it's a big audience, to have a big push where all of my wedding planning sisters and brothers can get together and stop calling it day of coordination and call it wedding management, because that's what we're doing. We are taking all the work that you've already done and managing it for you. Before your wedding, day of wedding, and for me, slightly after the wedding, because I do like a offboarding that's a little bit maybe more involved, I'm not sure. But it's never one day of work. For me, when you hire my company for wedding management, we're with you from the day that you book us. You have unlimited email access to us because I feel like I'm the expert. I've been doing this forever. If you get a contract that seems shady, send it to me. Let me help you in real time so that 6 weeks before your wedding, we're not scrambling to find a new videographer or something. You know, it's like, let's get to the work while it's current.
Very helpful.
Yeah, I just think when I started my business, I was doing month of coordination, and 6 weeks before the wedding, I'd say, send me all your stuff, and I'd be like, oh my God, they scheduled their ceremony for high noon outside in June. Like, how am I supposed to help you? Someone. Years ago. It was years ago.
God.
But you're like, I can't help you now. The invitations have gone out, right? But if 6 months before this, I could have helped you.
Correct.
And so that's my thing is I try to be the most valuable person to my couple because I've been doing this forever. And there are things that no one thinks about. Like what time the sun rises and sets on your wedding day.
I know.
And where the power is gonna come from.
And that's exactly my goal with all of these interviews that I've been trying to do.
Yeah.
To send a light because I still get inquiries as a photographer, and they have no clue.
No idea.
They have, sometimes they don't even have a planner. Their mom is helping, and I go like, no.
Here's the thing, I think everyone is, I try to lead with, everyone's always doing the best that they can and the best that they know how. And it's an interesting thing that I think has happened in our modern day culture because of the internet, and I think Pinterest too, is that people get engaged and then automatically everyone around them assumes they now have this amazing new skill set of how to plan a wedding. How? How? They've never done it before. Most modern couples don't even host in their home anymore. It's becoming a very lost art on how to be a gracious host, and that is part of the wedding planning, right? And that's part of just, and even knowing how to talk to other vendors. Like, this is all something that honestly couples shouldn't feel badly that they don't know how to do, but they definitely should know enough to know that they need help.
Etiquette.
Etiquette is my, like, it's my favorite topic, but also it's hilarious to me that like I have to read like several books on each one, and to be like, let me advise you on the consortium of people I've consulted for this one question, because it's like modern etiquette is changing every single day, every single week, every single wedding.
So bringing you back into Joshua Tree and High Desert, is it more costly to do a wedding in Joshua Tree than the High Desert or Los Angeles?
It's not, I hate to say that it's less, it's not a budget option, because frequently you're bringing things in from outside of the community. I don't love doing that, by the way. I want to shout out to my Joshua Tree vendors. They are trying to, and they are building a more robust wedding and events community there. But there are sometimes we have to bring in people from LA, and then you're paying travel costs.
Correct.
So in the end, it's a wash, I think.
Okay.
The other thing about wedding venues in Joshua Tree is that frequently they are much smaller. So a 250 person wedding is very difficult to come by in Joshua Tree, unless you permit for large spaces in the actual park.
Is it hard to get a permit? Would you be in charge if they hire you?
Yes, it's expensive.
It is expensive. Okay.
Almost prohibitively so.
Really?
Yeah, because you're getting a permit for use and then a permit for the photography, a permit for videography, like literally parsing permits for every single thing.
So who's in charge of paying those permits? The client or each vendor?
No, the client.
The client has to pay for that. Wow, that's good to know.
It's tricky. The actual park is tricky. I try to stay away from venues, from events in the actual park.
But outside
the park is fine. Outside the park is different. The thing about the park is that it's a national monument, and I don't want to ruin it, and I know no one else does either.
Correct.
So, and the park doesn't want us to ruin it either. So the costs are prohibitive for a reason. They don't really want us to have a wedding in the park.
Have you done weddings at the park?
I've done elopements in the park.
Okay.
Very expensive elopements in the park.
Okay. Now I get it. Now I get it. Perfect. Well, Renee, how can the people who are viewing this amazing video with all this information, can they find you?
I'm everywhere, y'all. I'm everywhere. So you can find me at my website, Moxie Bright Events, or on Instagram at Moxie Bright Events. I also have a podcast called Rock Your Wedding Biz for wedding industry pros.
Which is really funny. I love it.
So you can find us on rockyourweddingbiz.com or on the Instagram Rock Your Wedding Biz. We try to keep everything streamlined. And you can always DM me or email me. I'm everywhere. I'm just not on Twitter because I don't like Twitter.
It's too
weird.
Yeah, I don't like Twitter either. Not for me. At least. But anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was so fun. I have no idea about all the things it takes to create a wedding, or to host a wedding, or to plan a wedding in Joshua Tree.
Oh, in Joshua Tree. Yeah, we gotta get you out to the desert.
It's fantastic, and it is one of my goals, hopefully one day.
Yes.
But more than anything, is just to get your brain, out to all the viewers and to really get to know you. Which you're an amazing person, and whoever hires her, they get the whole shebang, the whole package, because not only she puts attention to her client, she's dedicated. She loves to find the yes.
I always try to find the yes.
Always find the yes for your clients, so you won't go wrong with her.
Thank you so much.
And thank you guys for staying with us, and thank you to the Unique Space for letting us host this interview. Bye.